Yeah, I don't think it's started yet.
Yes. I know, you're all great. You're all great. It's Friday.
Okay,
We are.
so I'm emceeing. Okay, first, Chrissy asked if you have not signed in, make sure you sign in. It's going around, so just make sure before you leave today, you sign in, because this is mandatory. Okay, so first thing, because it's really important, last week, everybody got really excited and was talking over each other, and the interpreters almost came unglued and killed everybody. So, today we're going to make sure we take turns. If you have a comment or question, signed or spoken, come to the front. But speaker, if you're spoken, interpreter's going to take the speaker if you're signing. Okay? Must be up front, one for the video, two for everybody else, if you have a question or comment. Make sure we take turns. We're going to start off with Raven Miller from Procurement. And then we have Monica back with Travel. And then after that, if you do not have a student activity account, if you don't touch student activity accounts, if you are never going to touch student activity accounts, meaning you're not going to be a coach, you're not going to be a class representative or sponsor, class sponsor, or for any other reason have a student activity account, then you don't have a reason to be here. You're free to go. So after first two presenters, we're going to be doing student activity accounts. So if you don't have a student activity account, we'll see you at Marshall. All right, ready?
Can everybody hear me okay? All right, so I'm Raven Miller. I'm the Procurement Branch Manager at KDE. And I'm just going to go over a general high-level, very high-level overview of procurement and the small purchase authority and the certain types of procurements that we will do. Zach Whitaker will be your go-to. If you have any questions about procurement, go to Zach. If he doesn't know, he'll come to me. And if he's not available, you can still come to me. And I will share my email. And he's going to share this PowerPoint or this presentation, this slide with you all. I'm trying to get bigger here. Whoa, that one's fast. Okay. So we have technology purchases. You all have an internal DPR system. And when you all see DPR system on here, it is talking about the external DPR system that comes through KDE for approval. Anything IT requires a DPR. It has to go through various approval processes for, specifically for our IT folks to approve. And there's certain things that go on for IT purchases. SPR1, the strategic purchase request, is what the SPR1 stands for. And Zach will know what needs it and what doesn't. There's a variety of things. I have a note here that it's required for all software regardless of cost, and it's also required for anything over $1,000 that's not software. If we move over here to furniture, there's a process to go through for furniture. We can't just go out and buy furniture. We have to check KCI, Kentucky Surplus, and the correctional institution to see if they can provide it. If they cannot, then we can look at procurement from a master agreement. We actually have several master agreements for educational furniture that can be used, and Zach will know those. Printing requests. We have to have a special process for printing requests. Everything, if we can, needs to go through Kentucky Design Print. Or if they can't do that, then KCI might be able to do that. And if they can't do that, then we can procure it outside. But there's special procurement processes that we have to do with that. So anything bulk printing that you can't just do on the copier in the office, we'll need to go through there. Posters, you can print posters if you have a big plotter, but if you have bulk quantities, then we need to send those out for purchasing. Then we have our pro card limits. Some people have $1,000 limit. Some people might only have $500 limit. It just varies. So you might even have a pro card at all. I don't know how many do or don't, but that's, one on campus. Okay. So those that have pro card, there's various ways that we can purchase on pro card. You might consider adding more. But typically anything from $0 to $5,000, if it's not on master agreement, a pro card can be used. And there's some instances where if it is on master agreement, a pro card can be used, but most of the time a delivery order will need to be used. Then we have master agreements. Those are contracts that either finance, they're statewide, or they're KDE specific that can be used for various purchases. There's a ton of them. If there's not a master agreement purchases, the limit is none. Obviously, there's a budget limit. You're going to have a certain amount that you can spend. But from a procurement perspective, there is no limit on a master agreement, which is nice. And if it's not on master agreement, we do have the small purchase authority, and anywhere from $0 to $5,000 will require one quote. Anything from $5,000 to $20,000 requires 3 quotes. We can email various vendors for those 3 quotes, or we have an RQS, a request for solicitation, to send out and obtain various quotes that way. So there's a couple of processes that we as procurement can do to get those bids. So if you don't know 2 or 3 vendors or 3 or 4 vendors to contact to get those quotes, then we can do it for you through the EMARS procurement process. More quotes, the better. Don't just stick with 3. The more quotes you can get, the better off we are to have the best price, best quality. So if it's not on master agreement, then you have it $0 to $5,000 and then $5,000 to $20,000. If it's not on master agreement and it's over $20,000, there's a few things. We can do sole source. If it's the only vendor that provides that good or service, there's no equivalent. We can request finance exemption to issue a sole source contract. We also have a not practical or feasible to bid. That vendor provides this product and is able to provide it within a certain time frame where others cannot. We can sometimes ask for permission from finance to proceed with that vendor instead of bidding it out. There's times it's over a 3 quote limit. We've obtained 3 quotes. Those are the only 3 vendors that we can obtain quotes from. We can ask for a not practical to bid. It's basically saying, finance, we don't want you to bid this out for us. We're asking permission to proceed with that purchase outside of our purchase authority. And then if a sole source or not practical to bid are options, then we'll have to do an RQS, and that will either result in an RFB, which is a request for bid, or an RFP, which is a request for proposal. A bid is you know exactly what you want. A proposal is you're not really sure. This is what I'm trying to do. Vendors will provide proposals on how they can meet your needs. Another difference between a bid and a proposal is a proposal you can negotiate, a bid you cannot. So those are very high level, a ton of things go on behind the scenes for every specific thing. So does anybody have any questions about general procurement? If you do have questions, again, don't hesitate to reach out to Zach or myself, and I will make sure you all have our email addresses. And we'll share this document for you to have just kind of a general idea of what you'll need to do to get that purchase. Thank you all. There is one thing I do need to mention about procurement. Do not go out and buy something without permission. Always check with Zach, do we have a DPR approval? Is this the correct method of purchasing before you go out and buy it? Don't expect to go out and buy it and get reimbursed, because it most likely will not get reimbursed. So definitely be sure and ask for permission before you go out and buy it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Monica Raines, and I work in the finance office. Green, okay, there I am. My name is Monica Raines, and I am with the finance office, and I'm the person that pays your travel reimbursement. I give out the money. So today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about your travel reimbursements. We'll talk about that first. And then we're going to talk about traveling out of state, because I handle that too. Do we have any coaches that take students out of state for athletics? Okay. All right, I've seen some of your paperwork. So first, let me ask you all, do you have any questions, something specific you want me to start with on the travel voucher? Has anyone ever got their reimbursement back and said, why is it $8 short? No? Okay. All right, well, I'll just start from the top, and we'll work our way down real quick, and then we'll go into out-of-state requests. Okay, so across the top here, we've got our accounting template, which we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. This is the money that we take your payment out of. Moving down further, travel ID. Everyone in this room has some type of travel ID. You're either an employee or you're a non-employee. So you have your Chris ID, which is 3 letters, 4 numbers, or you have a vendor number, which is what we call a K number. Your name. We always want you to put your name in as I say, as it appears on your taxes, on what's in Chris. Name of your department, School for the Deaf. Travel workstation, that's this address, this full address. Yes.
A lot of these folks, especially for outreach, their primary workstation
Is their home. Okay, okay, okay.
We're all on the chain, on the couch.
There you are.
Those of us,
Oh, okay.
we're all working together for your convenience.
The outreach team, okay.
This is just for outreach, not confusing.
Okay, home address, full addresses. I suggest that for some of you that have a PO box, put in your PO and your physical address. It just helps me a little bit when I'm processing. Something that you all don't hear, that it's my suggestion, put your phone number over here somewhere. Because what I like to do is, if there's a small problem, I prefer to call you and say, hey, did you mean this or did you mean that? And I can get it cleared up in a few minutes rather than waiting 2 weeks to hear back from you. All right. We'll start with our first line. So, Zach, type in your, I guess today. Let's leave at 7 a.m. So Zach left his home this morning at 7 a.m., driving from Frankfurt, and this is a one-day trip. He's going to return home at about 5:30. From the closest location, which would be here, I think that's your home, right? Yeah. And we would need the full address of where you left from. Okay. To the address here. And then drop an and return in there. Yeah, wherever in the purpose. What is it? Is it 45? Okay. So it's 45 down here and back? Okay. So as you all know, this is just your straight one-day trip down there and back. Some people type in that they went down there and then next line that they went back. That's not necessary. You just put and return, then you're good. Save yourself some time. So next line, let's start one day next week. Yes. Let's leave at 6, because this one's gonna be an overnight. Okay, so this trip is gonna be an overnight. Zach left his home at 6 a.m. from Alpha Drive, and just, you know, you can shorten those if you want to, just for time, to here, yeah. And he drove 45 miles. And for lodging, he spent $105. Is there a Holiday Inn Express here? Yeah, okay. It's $105 at the Holiday Inn Express. So Zach left at 6 a.m. First night of lodging, $105. He left at 6 a.m. so he gets breakfast. $8. And then he came over here to the school and you all gave him lunch, so no lunch. He went back and he ate at Cheddar's and he gets $18 for dinner. All right, next morning, 11:06. And we're gonna put in that you left here at 3 o'clock. And return, 4. All right, from SD to Alpha Drive. All right, mileage. I'm sorry, I want to read this to you. Okay. All right, so he's checked out and he's gonna get breakfast. And they did not provide lunch, so we're gonna give him some lunch, $10. Any questions so far? No? Okay. For the present day, because he is still in travel status from the time that he left at 6 a.m. on the 5th, and he is not leaving until 3 o'clock on the 6th. So as long as he's in travel status during these times, from 6 a.m. until the time that he left or got home, he's approved for these meals. Oh, I do have to open my Word document.
That's why I was trying to.
Oh, yes, I do have one that's a little bit more specific. Open the Word, and I have something that's called meals and rates. There it is. Open that. This is my cheat sheet that I use. And it tells me all the times that you're eligible and the policy on that. And the same applies for out-of-state trips. Okay, you can minimize that. Let's go back and tab. Yeah, okay. So, in order to be reimbursed for meals, we have to have a hotel receipt that has to have a 0 balance. A lot of people turn in a receipt, and it's what we call an express check. It's the receipt that comes under the door in the middle of the night. We do not accept those. We also do not accept credit card receipts to show proof that you stayed. Any questions? No? Okay. 30 days, no. The only. Here, where? Okay, so we ask that you all send these once a month. They must be separate documents, one for September, one for October, et cetera, et cetera. If you are traveling, let's say you leave your house on October 31st, and you're traveling to Frankfurt for 3 days, and it carries over into the first couple of days of November, you can add those on there. Please do not split those out. Any other questions?
So just to clarify, we need a receipt for the hotel, but the food,
Can you,
No receipts for food.
You have to use the mic. You have to use the mic.
Excellent question.
sorry, just to clarify, we need to bring a zero balance receipt from the hotel,
Yes,
but for the food.
no receipts for food. We're only gonna pay you $8 for breakfast. If you spent 50, you're only gonna get 8. If you spent 4, we're gonna give you 8. If you spend 0, we're gonna give you 8. Anything? No? Okay. All right, we'll minimize that, and we'll start talking about out-of-state travel. How many of you all travel out-of-state? Coaches, conferences? Okay, all right. So, this is the document that we use. This is a permission slip for you all to travel out of state. This also serves as an insurance policy. So that we know that you are traveling out of state for business for KSD or KDE. And if something happens to you, we're gonna pull this document and we're gonna say, okay, this person was traveling for the department on business, and we need to make sure we get that covered for their insurance, for anything that happens to them. So, okay, we're gonna start at the top. How many of you all have seen this document? You? Okay. All right, so this is the travel encumbrance. We'll start person's name, airport preference. If you want to travel out of Lexington, great. If there's a flight cheaper out of Louisville, we will not make you travel to Louisville. It's just our preference. And then, again, your travel ID. This will be used in EMARS when I'm entering it into the system for payments. Purpose of the trip. Zach Whitaker requests permission to attend the, CCSSO. I deal with them a lot. Yeah. To attend CCSSO conference in San Diego, California, from December 5th through December 10th. So I will tell you, I don't know if you all do this, I type these all the time. What you want to do is get your invitation that you receive. It's usually by email, and it tells you, hey, come out to California for 5 days. We're going to tell you something. So what you want to do is just put in a couple of lines on why you're going out there and what type of information you'll be bringing back to the department that will benefit us. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. This only carries a certain amount of characters. If this box ever turns red, you put too much information in. And so you'll have to delete some of it. But this is the most important thing. Who you are, where you're going, and when, and what conference you're attending. We don't need the address of where you're going. We do not need the address of the hotel. You can put in information, this agency, CCSSO, they pay for a lot of our travel. So you can put a couple of lines in that says, CCSSO will be paying for all meals and all ground transportation. We do not need to know that your children are traveling with you. Okay, scrolling down. Destination, San Diego. All right, start date. So Zach is leaving on the conference starts December the 5th. We're gonna fly you out there the day before. Now, December 4th. And ends on the 5th. I'm sorry, the 10th. Yes. Now, in certain situations, when you're flying to the Pacific Coast time zone, you can request to fly home the day after the conference because you're on a 3-hour time difference. And we don't want you sitting around in the airport until the following day. If you're on a trip from here to DC, you probably need to come home the same day. Personal time. Let's say you decide you want to go to the beach for a couple of days. Zach wants to leave December 1st. And he wants to return, let's give him a couple of days after. Let's say the 12th. So with those dates, you go into travel status. KDE will pay your expenses from the time that you leave your house, December 1st, until you get off the plane, December 1st. So we'll pay your mileage to the airport, all meals during that time. Let's say he leaves at 6 o'clock in the morning and he lands at, 4, and he lands at 4 o'clock. We're gonna pay expenses until 4 o'clock, until he gets off the plane. And then you're on personal time, which means we will not pay for any meals, no ground transportation, no lodging, anything, until the day of the conference starts. So we'll fly you out there for you to ride around town. And then the day of the conference, you go back on the KDE dime. All right, and then the same with returning. You return on the 12th, you go back into travel status on the morning of the 12th. All right. This is an estimate of cost. So, private miles. Zach's going to drive to the Louisville airport. It is 100 miles round trip. And this calculates, it's an Excel document, so. He's going to drive his personal car. Now, for some of you all, what we're going to do is we'll add in an additional person. And that person's going to use a state car. Same thing, 100 miles. And I'm a little rusty on how we calculate the state mileage. For training's sake, we'll just put in 46. I know a lot of you all use a state vehicle when you travel. Okay, airfare. You can go online and you can check flights for a reasonable cost. We're not gonna fly you on the cheapest flight, neither are we paying first class. So let's put in $650 for airfare. Okay, lodging. Lodging's gonna be $250 a night. Times 5. Yes. Fine. Meals. Let's just put in, what is it? Out of state, it's $44 a day times 5. Registration is going to be, let's make it cheap, $100. Yeah. Parking is for the airport. $100. Cab fare, Uber, bus, however you get to and from the airport. Change. Oh, okay. Well, we don't change this, that's something sheriff's gonna help you do. So it's just cab fare, yeah, or we're probably gonna change it to ground transportation. Yeah, if they're using a bus or something like that, we would change that up here, which is real car. Okay. Yeah, I see these all the time when we change it to bus or something like that. Excuse me, cab fare. Ubers are kind of expensive, so we're gonna give you all $200. Now, one thing that I see quite a bit that I'm sorry to say, if you go to San Diego and you hear about the hottest restaurant across town on Tuesday night and you decide to take an Uber over there, we are not going to pay that. And I guess it's the position of the department or the state that there's plenty of places for you to eat right there within, I guess, a quarter of a mile. So, and that applies to in-state travel as well. If you drive across town to a restaurant, we will not reimburse you for the mileage. Okay, internet is pretty rare. Internet is mostly for directors, commissioners that are working on the airplane. Baggage. The standard rate for baggage is $30, unless you're flying Delta. It's $35. So we're gonna fly Delta, so we're gonna put in $70. Miscellaneous. This confuses everyone. Miscellaneous is for if something happens and when we get ready to reimburse you, we're over. This opens the door for me to go in and add more money to the account to make sure that you get paid what you're supposed to. But this, and I get this all the time, when people see $50 on there, they think it's some kind of gift card. It's not. You know, a lot of people go to conferences and they're displaying books and all kinds of other equipment, and some people think, I'll use this $50 to buy books. No, it's not what that's for. Okay. All right. Registration payable to, if you want the department to pay the registration, you will need to complete all of this information, full address. You will also have to have their K number for us to pay them. If you're unsure about what that is, you can call me and ask me, or you can ask Zach. We'll look it up for you. And we'll tell you what to do if there is no K number. All right, if you want it to be paid by the Pro Card, this document, once approved, will need to be sent to the Pro Card holder as supporting documents. Accounting template. This is the money that we're going to use to pay for all of this. And your object code for out-of-state is always E362. Okay. And then this is where we start the approvals. So once you complete this document, you're going to need to email it to, no, KDE Electronics. Budget, I'm on here. Budget branch, that goes to electronics. And then it comes to me, and I sign. So once we've reviewed all of this, and it's all approved, this document is going to come back to me. And then I'm going to put in the final signatures, and I'm going to email it back to you. How many of you all purchase your own plane tickets when you travel out of state? Have. Do you all use All-Tour? All-Tour is a travel agent that is used by state government. Herman Kotner, know that name? Okay, Herman's with All-Tour, and when this is approved, I send this to you all and to him, and then he contacts you. And he asks you a couple of questions about name, date of birth, cell phone number, and then he starts searching for your plane tickets. And then he finishes off the process. Does anyone have any questions about out-of-state travel? Yes. No? Okay. Well, if you're ever unsure, this is what I always tell people. Don't pull out your big credit card. Call us first before you start paying for things when you're traveling out of state. Is that all? Nobody has any questions? All right. Well, thank you. Oh, wait a minute.
You have to use the mic, Sandy.
Timeline. We've seen these timelines kind of fluctuate through the months and years. So what's the timeline now? Advanced timeline or essentially? It's
I'm gonna say, as from the time that I receive it, it's a week. If I get it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, up to Thursday, I enter these into EMARS every day. And then on Fridays, I hit the send button and they go out for approval. They go to Cheryl Wiley, my supervisor first, and she does what we call level 1 approval. And then they go to Karen Worth, who was here last Friday. She does the final approval, and it comes back to me. So I send them out on Friday, and I usually have them back At the very latest, the following Tuesday or Wednesday.
Just for clarification, so for many, many years, we've been asked to have it submitted 1 month ahead of time, and recently as much as 2 months ahead of time, so I'm just really trying to get it.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought you wanted to
Just
know.
my desk.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay, all right. So 60 days. And you know, really, as soon as you get an invitation to something, you should have a quick conversation. I don't know how you all do this. Have a quick conversation with your supervisor. Do you think it's okay for me to go on this trip? Yes, I think this is beneficial. And then start this paperwork and send it out to me. And then, because you're a month out, we get a better price on flights. Okay. Right. Okay, so once it leaves KDE, I'm sorry, KSD, with these signatures, then it's sent to the department, and it's sent to the executive secretary for OSEAL. She puts Greta's signature on it, the associate. And then from there, it is sent over to my office. They check the accounting template to make sure there's plenty of money in there to cover this total. And then they send it to me. And that can take 3 to 5 days. $60 days before they come. For us. Yes.
Sorry, Denise, you have to start over. So for this specific form for staff traveling, when staff bring their group of students to other states or other deaf schools for tournaments or events, whatever it is, it's additional cost and there's additional work. So what would that process look like with all of those students? Is it a different process for us?
For students to travel?
Right.
Okay.
So last year and the past 2 years, our juniors and seniors have gone out of state on trips. So instead of a senior trip to the beach, that's fun, you know, they would go to Washington DC or a place with the educational experience. So for that process for our staff and students together, we're wondering, is the paperwork the same that they would need to fill out, or would that process look different?
Are you gonna use the mic or no, just kidding. Okay.
All right, can everyone hear me? Just for clarification, it's OSIL's requirement that those out-of-state trips are submitted 60 days in advance. As far as students, we do not expect any student name to be put on an out-of-state request form. As far as PII and things of that nature, we just don't want the actual student name on the document. So what we would like to see is so from the miscellaneous item, you're gonna have students and teachers included in this miscellaneous column. We'll just need to know the total amount of travelers on that specific piece. And then, up here in the top, if I'm the teacher and I'm taking students with me, Zach Whitaker's going, plus on this line, just put maybe 8 total students. We don't wanna see student names, social security numbers, student IDs, any of that info. Just want the total amount of students and each staff member's name. If you're a staff member, you will require your careers ID. Obviously, students won't have that. Does that answer the question?
Yes. So
if, for example, for the junior, senior trip, we have more than one adult going, so each staff member needs to fill out a separate form, or do they only fill out one form for all of them?
One form, just so everyone hears that. Any other questions, anyone?
So if we've already turned in documents and student names on, do we have to resubmit?
So we'll see, this here only has 3 boxes. Let's say you have 10 teachers traveling. You can extend this if you want to, or down here at the bottom, we have another tab that says agenda. If you don't have an agenda, it's not mandatory that you put an agenda on here. But you can change the name on here and put additional travelers. And you can start using this, names, travel ID number, and sometimes if there are a lot of people traveling, they're traveling on different days, you can put in additional information about this person wants to leave on the 1st, this one wants to come back on the 20th. You can put all that additional information on here. And our travel agent, Herman, he'll go in and he'll read through all of that before he starts contacting people. Any other questions? No? Okay. All right, that's all I got. If you have questions, feel free to contact me, and I'll help you the best I can. Thank you.
Okay, so if you don't do anything with student activity accounts, do it again.